All right, so today we're going to talk about a piece of tech that has, truly revolutionized how our favorite apps get their data. It's called GraphQL. And the cool thing is, it was born out of a really common frustration that I'm willing to bet you felt yourself. Okay, let's just dive right in. Have you ever been using an app on your phone and it just feels, I don't know, slow? Like it's just chewing through your data plan and you can practically watch your battery percentage drop in real time? Well, the culprit, more often than not, isn't what you're seeing on the screen. It's what's happening invisibly and wastefully in the background. At the very heart of this problem is a concept with a pretty simple name: overfetching. It's a massive headache for developers trying to build fast, snappy apps, and it's the exact reason why the engineers at Facebook invented GraphQL in the first place. Okay, picture this. You're building an app. All you want to show, is a person's name and their profile picture. Two things. That's it. With a traditional API, you send a request to the server asking for that user. But what you get back is everything. A gigantic blob of data with their name, yeah, but also their age, their address, their entire order history, their favorite color, their mother's maiden name. Maybe 50 different fields that you have absolutely zero use for. You just wanted a name and a photo. This right here is the overfetching disaster. And all that extra unwanted data, it creates a real cascade of problems. It burns through your user's mobile data, it forces the phone's processor to work way harder than it needs to, draining the battery, and yeah, it makes your app feel clunky and slow. There just had to be a better way. And that better way is GraphQL. See, if the old method was like this rigid, preset system where the server was king and told you what you were getting, GraphQL flips that script completely. It's a totally different and, frankly, much more logical way of thinking about things. So, at its core, GraphQL is a query language for your API. The revolutionary idea is right there in the definition. The client, that's your mobile app, your website, it gets to call the shots. It tells the server exactly what data it needs. No more and no less. Honestly, this is the perfect analogy. Think of a traditional REST API like a set menu at a fancy restaurant. The chef, that's the server, has decided you're getting the 5-course meal whether you want it or not. You get the whole user object, take it or leave it. GraphQL, on the other hand, is like a massive, glorious buffet. You, the client, walk in with an empty plate and you pick exactly what you want. A little bit of the username, a scoop of the avatar, you get only the fields you need, creating the perfect meal for your app. But the elegance of GraphQL doesn't stop at just preventing waste. It also attacks another huge source of slowness, having to make a bunch of separate trips to the server just to build a single screen. With GraphQL, you almost always just talk to a single, powerful endpoint. Seriously, forget about juggling dozens of different URLs for every little piece of data you need. Let's go back to our app example. In the old REST world, to get a user, their recent posts, and the comments on those posts, you'd have to make 3 separate round trips to the server. First, you hit /users. Wait. Then you hit /posts. Wait again. Then you hit /comments. Each trip adds precious time. With GraphQL, you send one single, intelligently structured request to that one endpoint and get all of it back at once. It's just a massive win for performance. Okay, so how do you actually ask for all this stuff? What does this language even look like? Well, the most beautiful part is just how simple and, readable it is. It's not some scary code, I promise. This right here, this is a GraphQL query. It's how you read data. And just look at it for a second. It's not some cryptic mess. It looks almost exactly like the data you want to get back, just without the values. We're literally describing what we want. Hey server, find me the user with ID 123. From that user, I just want their name and avatar. Oh, and you know what? While you're at it, grab their posts, but for each post, I only need the title. And the server sends back a response that perfectly mirrors that shape. What you ask for is exactly what you get. Now you're probably thinking, okay, that's great for getting data, but what about changing it? Like creating a new user? Well, in the REST world, you'd use things like post or put requests. In GraphQL, anytime you write or change data, it's simply called a mutation. So here, we're creating a new user named Gemini, and then in the very same operation, we're asking the server to immediately send back the ID and name of the user it just created. It's just so incredibly efficient. This whole thing sounds almost magical, right? How does the client even know what it's allowed to ask for, and how does the server know what to do? The answer is in the system's brilliant foundation, something called the schema. All of this is possible because of what's called a strongly typed schema. The best way to think of the schema is as a non-negotiable, rock-solid contract between the client and the server. It meticulously defines every single piece of data available, what it's called, what type it is it text, a number, a list, and how all the different data points relate to each other. And this schema is an absolute game changer for developers. It becomes the single source of truth for your entire API. And because this contract is so rigid and machine readable, your documentation is basically built in and it's always up to date. This unlocks these incredible developer tools that can auto-complete your queries as you type. You never have to guess again if a field is user_name with an underscore or username with camel case. The schema just tells you. It totally eliminates the guesswork and lets teams build way faster with way fewer bugs. So, after hearing all these amazing benefits, it's really easy to think that GraphQL is the silver bullet for everything, and that its predecessor, REST, is now, completely obsolete. But the reality, as it always is a little more nuanced than that. So let's just ask the big question. Is REST dead? The answer is a definitive, loud and clear no. They are both incredibly powerful tools, and the key for any great engineer or product leader is knowing which tool to use for which job. And here's a pretty good breakdown of when to use each. You probably want to stick with Rust for simpler apps or for public APIs where you want really strict granular control over exactly what data you expose. It's also fantastic for services that rely heavily on caching. You choose GraphQL when you're building those really complex front-end applications. Think of the Facebook or GitHub mobile apps where you have these deeply nested data relationships and where minimizing every single network request is absolutely critical for a world-class user experience. At the end of the day, it's not about which technology is better in a vacuum. It's about which one empowers your team to build a better, faster, more delightful product for your users. So the real question you should be asking yourself isn't about REST versus GraphQL. It's this: is your current API a flexible tool that's helping you innovate, or is it a rigid system that's actually holding you back?